Financial advisors say you need $1.4 million to retire comfortably in 2026. If you're 60 years old and you've got $150,000 saved up, they'll look you dead in the eye and tell you you're doomed to work until you die. Here's the thing though, they're lying to you. Now wait, before you click away, they aren't lying about the math. You do need $1 million if you stay in America, but the moment you cross the border, that number drops to zero. Stay with me here, because today I'm going to show you why the entire nest egg retirement model is fundamentally broken, and more importantly, how thousands of Americans are retiring comfortably right now on nothing but their Social Security check. No $1 million portfolio, no side hustle, just the check you've already earned. Let's break down the biggest financial lie you've ever been told. Why the system wants you to believe the lie. So first, let's talk about why this lie exists in the first place. Because it's not an accident. This entire narrative that you need 7 figures to stop working, it's designed to benefit someone, and spoiler alert, it's not you. You've heard of the 4% rule, right? It's this retirement planning golden standard that says you need to save 25 times your annual expenses. So if you need $40,000 a year to live, you need $1 million sitting in an account. You withdraw 4% each year, and supposedly, your money lasts forever. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? But here's what they don't tell you. That entire model, that whole framework exists to generate fees for wealth managers. Think about it. If you've got $1 million in an investment account, and your advisor is taking just 1% per year in management fees, that's $10,000 annually. Not from gains, not from profits, from your principal. Year after year after year. The financial industry has built a $1 trillion ecosystem around convincing you that you need this massive pile of cash just to survive your golden years. They need you terrified. They need you dependent, because your fear pays their mortgages. But let's say we take them at their word. Let's say you do need $1 million. Why? Why specifically does that number work out in America? Well, let's break down what I call the US premium. All the costs that are unique to living in the United States that eat your retirement alive. First up, property taxes. You know what's insane? You can pay off your house completely, own it free and clear, and you still owe the government money every single year just to live in it. That's not ownership. That's renting from the government forever. In many states, property taxes run $3,000 to $6,000 annually on a modest home. That's $250 to $500 every single month. That never goes away. Even when you're 85 years old on a fixed income, then there's healthcare. Even with Medicare, the average retiree spends about $6,000 a year out of pocket on medical expenses. And that's the average. One bad fall, one cancer diagnosis, one medication that Medicare doesn't fully cover, and suddenly you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars. I've watched people who saved responsibly their entire lives lose everything because they got sick at 72. And let's not forget inflation. Remember 2020? That $100 you saved is worth about $80 now in real purchasing power. The dollar in your savings account is actively losing value while it sits there. You're not preserving wealth, you're watching it evaporate in slow motion. So when you add it all up, the property taxes, the healthcare costs, the insurance, the inflation, the simple fact that a gallon of milk costs $4.50, yeah, you need a mountain of money just to tread water. Here's the stat that should make you angry. The median American boomer has about $200,000 saved for retirement, not $1.4 million, not even $500,000, $200,000. According to the system, according to every financial advisor following the traditional playbook, that means the majority of an entire generation has failed. They worked 40, 50 years, paid into Social Security their whole lives, tried to save what they could, and the system looks at them and says, sorry, not good enough. You lose. I'm here to tell you something different. If you've got $150,000, $200,000, even $100,000 saved, you're not a failure. You're not behind. You're not doomed. You're ready to leave. Because here's what changes everything, and I need you to really hear this. The problem isn't how much you have. The problem is where you're trying to spend it. The entire retirement crisis in America disappears the moment you change your location. Not your income, not your savings, just your zip code. Let me show you the real numbers. The expat arbitrage math. Alright, let's do some actual math. Real numbers, no hypotheticals. Meet Barbara. She's 65, just started collecting Social Security, and gets $2,000 a month. That's pretty close to the average benefit for someone who worked their whole life in America. Barbara stays in the United States. Let's see what her life looks like. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment in a safe area. That's easily $1,200 to $1,500 a month, even in smaller cities. We'll say $1,300. Already she's got $700 left for the entire month. Utilities, phone, internet, another $200, down to $500. Car insurance, $100. We're at $400. Food, being careful, and eating at home, $300 minimum. Now we're down to $100 for the month. That's $100 for everything else. Medications, clothes, car repairs, any kind of entertainment or social life. This is poverty. This is choosing between refilling your blood pressure medication or getting your oil changed. Now meet Linda, Barbara's old college roommate. Linda also gets $2,000 a month from Social Security, but Linda moved to Medellin, Colombia 3 years ago. Linda's rent for a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment with a doorman and gym, $600 a month. She's got $1,400 left. Utilities, including high-speed internet, $80. She's at $1,320. No car needed. The metro costs maybe $40 a month, down to $1,280. Food. Linda eats out 5 times a week at nice restaurants, buys fresh fruit, good coffee, maybe $400 total. She's got $880 remaining. Housekeeper twice a week, $80 a month, down to $800. Private health insurance better than Medicare, $100 monthly. She's at $700 left over. That's $700 Linda has every month for travel, entertainment, savings, whatever she wants. She's not just surviving, she's thriving. Same income, same Social Security check, completely different lives. Now here's where this gets really interesting, and this is the part the financial advisors will never tell you. You know why they say you need $1 million nest egg? Because they assume you need that pile of money to generate income. The 4% rule means your savings produce $40,000 a year to live on. But what if you don't need your savings to generate income? What if your guaranteed income, your Social Security, already covers all your expenses? Then you don't need $1 million. You just need an emergency fund, a cushion for the unexpected stuff, the medical emergency, the flight home if your mom gets sick, the new laptop when yours dies. For most people, $100,000 to $200,000 is a massive emergency fund when your monthly expenses are $1,200 instead of $3,500. That's enough to cover literally years of unexpected costs. This is the arbitrage. This is the gap. You take the income you've already earned, the Social Security you paid into for decades, and you move it to a place where that income actually works. You're not running away from America. You're running toward a life where the math actually adds up in your favor. And I want to be really clear about what we're talking about here, because when people hear cheap country, they picture deprivation. They picture sacrifice. That's not what this is. In Thailand, on $2,000 a month, you're getting monthly massages. You're eating pad thai from a street vendor that's better than anything you'd find in the US. You're living in a modern condo with a pool. In Ecuador, you're in a city with perfect weather year-round, incredible healthcare that costs a fraction of US prices, and a social scene full of other expats and locals who are genuinely friendly. In Portugal, you're in a European country with beautiful architecture, amazing food, accessible healthcare, and you're a 2-hour flight from Paris or London. This isn't about lowering your standard of living, it's about raising it by taking your dollars somewhere they're worth something. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, this sounds great in theory, but where specifically does this work? What are the real places where my Social Security check actually makes me comfortable? I'm going to give you 3 concrete examples, 3 different tiers, depending on what you're looking for. But I want you to pay attention to something important. These aren't tourist destinations I'm hyping up. These are real places where real American retirees are living right now and living well. Let me break down your options. Where this works. 3 concrete examples. Tier 1, the Americas, same time zone, high quality of life. Let's start with the easiest transition, especially if you've never lived abroad before, staying in the Americas. The 2 standouts here are Ecuador and Colombia. Ecuador first, specifically cities like Cuenca or the coastal town of Salinas. Here's why Ecuador is brilliant for retirees. They use the US dollar as their official currency, no exchange rate confusion, no watching your purchasing power fluctuate when the peso drops, You pull dollars out of the ATM, you spend dollars at the store. Cuenca is this beautiful colonial city in the mountains with spring-like weather year-round. I'm talking 60s and 70s every single day. No air conditioning needed, no heating bills. The historic center looks like something out of a postcard, and the locals are incredibly welcoming to expats. On $2,000 a month in Cuenca, you're living in a nice apartment, eating out regularly, affording a housekeeper, and still saving money. The expat community is huge, so you've got English-speaking friends, American-style social events, and people who understand what you're going through. Healthcare? Ecuador has excellent private hospitals, and a doctor's visit costs maybe $30 without insurance. Prescription drugs are a fraction of US prices. Then there's Colombia. Now, Medellin gets all the attention, and for good reason. I hope I pronounced it right. So this is a modern city with a metro system, great restaurants, perfect weather, and a thriving community of foreign retirees. The neighborhood of Poblado feels like a mix between California and Spain. But here's the thing about Colombia, it's cheap, really cheap. A nice dinner with wine costs $15. A monthly gym membership is $20. Your phone bill is $10. These aren't developing world prices where you're compromising on quality. These are developed world services at prices that make sense. Both Ecuador and Colombia are also on the same time zone as the East Coast or close to it, which means video calls with your kids and grandkids don't require waking up at 3 a.m. You're a direct flight away from Miami or Houston. This is not isolating yourself on the other side of the planet. Tier 2, Southeast Asia, lowest cost, highest luxury. Now, if you're willing to go a bit further from home, both geographically and culturally, Southeast Asia is where your social security check goes the absolute furthest. Thailand and Vietnam are the two champions here. Thailand, particularly cities like Chiang Mai or beach areas like Hua Hin, has been a retirement haven for decades. The infrastructure for expats is unbelievable. There are entire apartment complexes designed for foreign retirees, Western grocery stores, English-speaking hospitals that offer medical tourism packages. On $2,000 a month in Chiang Mai, you're living in luxury. A beautiful one-bedroom condo in a new building with a pool and gym. $400. Going out for massages twice a week. $40 total. Eating tom yum soup and mango sticky rice from incredible restaurants. $3 per meal. You're looking at a life where you have a maid, a motorbike, unlimited Thai food, and you're still banking $800 a month easily. The Thai people are genuinely kind. The concept of Sanuk, having fun and enjoying life, is built into the culture. And while there's a language barrier in expat-heavy areas, enough people speak English that daily life is manageable. Vietnam is similar, but even cheaper in some ways. Hanoi and Da Nang have exploded as retirement destinations. The food is phenomenal. Phao for breakfast, banh mi for lunch, all for pocket change. A full-day motorbike rental is $5. The challenge with Southeast Asia is the distance. Your 20-plus hours of flying from the US, the time difference means middle-of-the-night phone calls. And culturally, it's a bigger adjustment. But for people who want adventure, who don't mind being far from family, or who maybe don't have much family left, this is where $2,000 a month feels like $6,000 a month back home. Tier 3, Europe, risky but possible. Finally, let's talk about Europe, because I know some of you are thinking, I want to be in Europe. I want the culture, the history, the ease of travel. Here's the truth. Europe on just Social Security is hard. Most Western European countries are expensive. France, Germany, the UK, you're going to struggle on $2,000 a month. But there are two exceptions, rural Portugal and rural Spain. Portugal, especially outside of Lisbon and Porto, can work. Small towns in the interior or along the Silver Coast offer reasonable rents, think $600 to $800 for a decent place. Food is affordable if you shop at local markets. Healthcare through the public system is accessible, and you can buy private insurance for around $100 a month. The catch? Portugal is getting more expensive every year as more people figure this out. And on just Social Security, you're going to be tight. This works better if you own your home outright or have a small additional income source. Spain is similar. Tiny villages in regions like Galicia or Extremadura are affordable, but you need to speak Spanish, and you need to be okay with being the only foreigner in town. This isn't Medellin, where there's a Starbucks and English-speaking Facebook groups. This is genuine cultural immersion. So Europe, possible, especially if you've got $2,500 a month instead of $2,000, or if you're willing to live very simply. But it's definitely the riskiest of these three tiers. Alright, so you're starting to see the picture. You've got options, real concrete places where your social security check doesn't just survive, it thrives. But before you start daydreaming about your apartment in Cuenca or your beach condo in Thailand, I need to give you a reality check because there's a trap here, and I've watched too many people fall into it. It's the trap of waiting. The time warning. Here's the thing nobody wants to hear. Waiting to save that $1 million is a trap. Not just a bad strategy, an actual trap that will steal years of your life. Let me paint you a picture. You're 62 right now. You've got $150,000 saved. You look at these retirement calculators that say you need $1.2 million and you think, okay, if I work 5 more years, max out my 401k, maybe I can get to $300,000. So you stay at the job 5 more years. You're 67 now. Except here's what actually happened during those 5 years. You managed to save an extra $50,000 through sheer discipline and sacrifice. Good for you, seriously. But inflation during that time ate 20% of your purchasing power. That $200,000 you now have, it buys what $160,000 bought when you were 62. You just ran in place for 5 years. And that's assuming everything goes right. That's assuming you don't have a health crisis that drains your savings. That's assuming you don't get laid off at 65 and struggle to find work. Because, let's be honest, age discrimination is real. That's assuming the stock market doesn't crash and take 30% of your 401k with it like it did in 2008. You traded 5 years of your healthy, active 60s, 5 years you could have spent hiking in Ecuador or exploring temples in Thailand, for a mathematical equation that doesn't even work in your favor. Let's do some different math. Real talk. You're 63. You've got $180,000 saved. Your Social Security is $1,900 a month. Option A, stay in America, work until 68. Try to get your savings to $250,000. Then retire to a studio apartment in Florida where you scrape by on $2,200 a month and hope nothing breaks. Option B, leave now, move to Medellin, live on your $1,900 Social Security check in a beautiful apartment. Keep your $180,000 invested conservatively as an emergency fund that you probably won't even need to touch. Enjoy 5 extra years of actually living. Which option gives you a better life? And here's the kicker. In option B, you still have that $180,000. It's still growing. You're just not dependent on it. You're not watching it with anxiety, hoping the market doesn't crash before you retire. It's there as a safety net, which is all it needed to be in the first place. But there's something darker we need to talk about. And I say this not to scare you, but because it's true. The American retirement system is not built to survive the next 20 years in its current form. Social Security is projected to run into serious funding issues by 2034. Now, it won't disappear, there's too much political will to protect it, but benefits might get cut by 20 to 25%. Medicare is facing similar pressures. The dollar's purchasing power is eroding faster than at any point since the 1970s. Healthcare costs are rising 3 times faster than wages. If you're waiting for the perfect time to retire in America, you're waiting for a system that's actively collapsing around you. Meanwhile, countries like Ecuador, Colombia, Thailand, their costs are relatively stable. Their healthcare systems aren't tied to employer-based insurance nightmares. Your dollar goes further, and it will likely continue to go further as the US economy struggles with debt and inflation. Here's what really gets me. Every year you wait is a year you don't get back. You're not getting younger. That knee pain isn't getting better. Your energy for adventure, for learning a new language, for making new friends in a new country, that gets harder every year you delay. I've talked to people who retired abroad at 64 and they're hiking volcanoes and taking salsa lessons and living life. I've talked to people who waited until 72 and they're struggling because they don't have the energy anymore. The health issues have piled up and they're too set in their ways to adapt to a new culture. There's a window here. You're in it right now. And every month you spend convincing yourself you need just a little more in savings is a month you're giving away. You know what I think you're really waiting for? Permission. Permission to believe that the life you've lived, the work you've done, the savings you've accumulated, that it's enough. The financial industry has spent billions of dollars convincing you it's not, that you're behind, that you failed, that you need their products and their services and their constant anxiety-inducing advice. I'm here to give you different permission. You're ready. If you've got $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 saved and you're getting Social Security, you have everything you need to retire comfortably. You just need to retire in the right place. Stop letting a US-centric math problem dictate your life. Look, I know this is a lot to process. We've just dismantled everything you've been told about retirement for your entire working life. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, okay, this makes sense, but how do I actually do this? What are the exact steps? That's exactly what I want to help you with. But first, I need you to understand something crucial. You have a golden ticket in your pocket right now. It's called Social Security. You paid into it for 30, 40, maybe 50 years. You earned it. And despite everything you've been told, it's enough. It's enough to live with dignity. It's enough to enjoy your retirement. It's enough to stop worrying about money every single day. You just need to punch that ticket at the right airport. The $1 million retirement, that's not a requirement. That's a sales pitch. It's a story Wall Street needs you to believe so they can manage your anxiety and charge you fees. The real story is about thousands of Americans who figured out the same thing you just learned. Geography is the ultimate retirement hack. They're in Cuenca right now, having a $12 three-course lunch with new friends. They're in Chiang Mai, getting a massage after their morning yoga class. They're in Medellin, video calling their grandkids from a balcony overlooking the mountains. They're not rich. They didn't win the lottery. They didn't inherit money. They just made a different choice. And here's what I want you to do next. Stop researching in the abstract. Stop reading articles about someday. Start getting specific if you want to see the actual places, the exact cities where your Social Security check makes you wealthy, where I break down the real cost of living, the visa requirements, the healthcare systems, the expat communities. Go watch my video on the 7 cheapest countries to retire on Social Security right now. It's the roadmap. It's the specific details you need to turn this from an interesting idea into an actual plan. Because here's the truth. 1 year from today, you're going to be 1 year older. That's happening whether you do anything or not. The only question is where you'll be and how you'll be living. Will you still be in the same place, working the same job, stressed about the same impossible retirement math? Or will you be somewhere new, somewhere better, somewhere your check actually matters, living the retirement you've earned? The choice is yours. The ticket is in your hand. All you have to do is use it.